Welcome to ZenMadman's Nutty Pot Limit Omaha journey day number 41. 41. We're going to do some more of these, but we might change it up a little bit in the not too distant future. And yesterday, I actually did a bonus stream, a 2-hour 3-tabling stream, which was fun. Got a lot of chat going on, which was also fun. Let's chat about this hand. I have 7s with a 9 and a 4, and a suited 7. I'm going to check that and flop nothing. Although there's no clubs in my hand, no clubs on the board. Should I? No. Okay, we'll keep checking. I mean, I could maybe just like take a stab at it and get this player to fold pretty often. There is, there are hearts. I have a heart blocker. There's some straight draws. I'm kind of blocking one of them. I don't think it makes too much sense to really get up in there all too much. So they raise the button, and there's a min raise though. I have King Jack 9 10. I'm gonna fold, but I'm gonna mark that one because I feel like perhaps I could have 3-bet that. I don't think it would necessarily be great 3-bet here. Ace 10 9 5. All right, we'll pop this one. What was someone saying? Someone was saying you could raise a little looser in these spots, or a little tighter with more players in the hand, because basically there's a card removal effect, right? Where if there are previous players who have folded, which there weren't this time, then they've probably folded low cards. So your high cards are going to run into more high cards, although they're also going to be liver. I have bottom 2. I do have the nut flush blocker. Should it come in. Now I have bottom 3. This doesn't really change much. I've got some showdown value, and I don't think I get them to... Wow. They had aces. Hey, I have aces. Do I have the same aces they had last hand? Oh, no. I have ace, 7, 3. They had ace, 7, 2. But they had a suit, so theirs were actually better than mine. But we're still going to raise them up, because aces are aces. And that board is okay-ish for aces. Heads up, I'd be at a lot higher level of jazziness. Now I have the backdoor nut flush draw blocked, and I have aces up, and now somebody can have like Jack 9, Jack whatever, a wrap, some diamonds. I don't necessarily like my hand that much better now. Just on its own, but I like my opponent's hands less after this person checked twice, but then they check raise, so it feels like, I guess, they were trapping. Okay, nice hand. We'll see if they get it all in against this person. No, that person decided to fold. I really don't know what they were doing. I wasn't blocking any of the parry cards, so I was basically just trying to get called by a Jack or a 9 or Jack 9. Perhaps my turn bet was a bit questionable. This person likes to min raise, so we'll just make a note of that. So that's a thing we know. The player on the left is obviously a player we want to be playing with, but they don't have that many chips, so that's not like super duper exciting. So, I gotta get me one of them chat bots, right? I say that so many times and I don't do it. Okay, so they're gone now. So I'm just against this player who's been min-raising, which is very non-standard. It doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad player. It means that they're not reading particular literature and then following it to the letter. I think single-suited 3s need a little bit more than a King 9. King 9 suited, it's nice that it's suited and all, but a King and a 10 is actually substantially better than a King and a 9. Of course, the 10 is higher than the 9, and that's nice. But most importantly, King 9 can make 1 straight, which is not the nuts. King 10 can make 2 straights, which both are the nuts. So, ability to make nut straights is one of the most important things a pair of cards can do, right? Connected cards. Any 2 Broadway cards can make at least the nuts, right? One way. Can at least make a Broadway nuts. This game is not really taking off. What have we seen from that player? Okay, I'm just going to really focus up on the action, play heads up. I'm not sure what range I'm supposed to play. I think the deuce is pretty bad, and I think my defense range is probably closer to 50%. If they're full potting, then they're getting... and I know I'm supposed to raise around 80% here. I think this is pretty questionable. Again, the 4 and the deuce aren't that good, but they do connect to one another. The queen and the jack connect to one another, and I do have one suit. So this feels like possibly a hand that I can raise the button. I really should study that enough that at least I have good opening and 3-bet ranges. I think that would be advantageous. So is this better or worse than the queen jack 4 deuce? Well, the 3-7 have less connectivity than the 4 deuce, but now I'm suited to the queen, and the 3-7 are higher. I pretty much whiff the flop. I have a gutter, and I have a blocker to the flush draw. Now an ace comes, and I can maybe not represent aces that much. I think I'm just going to keep checking. Yeah, I can have some aces that I checked back. They can still have a whole bunch of 9x as well. I have the nut no pair, so if they have no pairs, then I'm actually ahead. But I'm just going to surrender right away. 7-4-3-3. You know, there's some connection, there's a pair, there's a suit. I think I can call this in a heads up scenario. Now I have an open-ended straight draw. The board is paired, but if a 3 comes, then I make a boat. So I've got like 10 outs to something pretty decent heads up. You know, you might think, oh, well, there's a flush draw on board. Yeah, but we're heads up, right? So and by heads up, I mean not just like in this hand, but overall. So I think my hand is much better in this scenario than it would be in a lot of other scenarios. Having said that, they might be raising with just like a ton of whatever suited. So they're going to have a lot of kind of junk that, let's see. I could have called with a 5. I do have the 3s. It makes me not really want to bluff. What can I get to, can I get a 10 to fold? All the draws whiffed. It's so obvious. I am blocking all the heart draws though. But yeah, so they hit the 10. I'm not convinced I would have gotten a fold there. So if I thought I would get a fold from that hand, I would have bet for sure. But that was what I was thinking I would be targeting. And I thought, is this going to work? And I thought, probably not. I could have definitely value bet a deuce or a 5. Or if somehow I had an overpair, I think I could have slid a value bet out there, because I guess a 5 is in my opponent's range when they take that line. But there's going to be a lot of 10x, I think. So I can value bet mercilessly. And now the game's filled up. So now that the game's filled up, I'm going to take a bit of a breath. Kind of remember to downshift, right? Like, I used to play a lot of heads up limit hold'em. And heads up limit hold'em is just you're raising, 3-betting, or defending almost every hand, right? Like about 90% was the range I was using. Now maybe closer to 85 is standard. But, you know, it was... You just be in there, the flop comes, and you're like, okay, how does my range hit this flop? How does it hit my opponent's range? How can I try and exploit that? Do I want to be, you know, check calling and playing this passively and kind of getting to showdown? Do I want to be check raising and trying to take it down here, maybe with a turn bet? Or do I want to check call, check raise a turn? Or there, you know, you're just like looking for all the little gaps in the armor. And then, you know, if it's heads up at a 6-max table and then the table starts to fill in, we want to carry over that sense of always looking for where the opportunities are to exploit. And that's where we can take, we can really learn a lot from heads up and bring it over, right? I think that can be very valuable. But if we feel like we're at the same tempo, kind of, or we've got to like attack not every hand, but like most hands or a lot of hands, I think we can end up over bluffing. And sure, against some opponents that might be effective, but against others it can be disastrous. So I think sort of like picturing like, okay, now we have more players, okay, let's downshift a little. We don't have to like think like, you know, we're not playing this 80% range on the button anymore, right? We're playing like a 50% range, 40 something percent range on the button in games with this rake. So that kind of like downshifting, I kind of feel like I try to mentally do it. Like, remember, okay, now we're 6-handed. And why does this 4 look so weird? It looks like it's like got this weird, I don't know what's going on with it. It might not show up on your screen, but it's weird looking. It's got some little, there's like an extra little line in there. I don't know. Yeah, this 4 is normal. Nothing weird about this 4. Sometimes some fonts, like when they're at very particular, I don't know, point sizes, like maybe, I don't know, maybe is it not vector? What's going on? Those cards look fine. I mean, not when you combine them with my whole cards, but all right, so let's try and learn some things about our opponents from some of the hands. I believe this cutoff raised and it went cold call, and then the blinds came along in a squeeze spot. I think a lot of people play way too many hands in the big blind in a spot like that where there's a raise and a cold call. You know, our need for equity goes down, but our equity goes down most of the time. So I'm still working on my kind of raise first in, and then what do I do with those hands against a 3-bet sort of ranges. All right, so ace king a7, that seems like a pretty reasonable hand to raise first in. However, the hand that the other player showed up with, king queen 5-4 with 1 suit and 3 hearts, feels like that's probably in the category of hands that you don't want to defend multi-way. I'm just gonna verify. Yeah, the cutoff raised. Okay, so you know this player calls big blind kind of loose, multi-way, maybe. I mean, king queen and 5-4. That's nice. You got 2 sets of connectivity, but you know, the suit situation I think made that hand a little bit weaker. So I think in that scenario it was probably a mistake. All right. But yeah, then I do want to start working on my blind ranges pretty soon and getting better at those. Maybe I should do those first because they're weakest, right? They're like probably the farthest off. It's an interesting thing. You know, do you want to find your biggest weaknesses and try and shore them up? Or find strengths and try to like really drill down on them and get as good as possible? I don't know. Both. It depends, I think, on how big your weaknesses are and kind of what the consequences of those being weaknesses. Double suited aces, we're just 3-betting all the time. And, you know, hoping to get all in like 2-3 ways. That would be joyful. If I get a call, then the SPR is going to be like 1.5 to 1-ish, a little bit more. I flop top pair. I don't have any of these spade things. I don't think there's any reason to really be that worried that my opponent has any of this stuff. Sure, they can have spades. I am going to bet on the smaller side, and then I will jam turn unless it's a spade, in which case there will be crying first. But yeah, we'll just put the chips in, and if they have like a set of queens, some other set, or they get there, that's good for them. They didn't. They had double suited kings, different suits than me. And they smashed that flop, right? Wow, how much equity did they have on the flop? They had 62% on the flop, but on the turn I had 60%. So, all right, let's focus on this hand. Ace Jack 6-5, double suited. So this is one of those hands that I'm definitely not sure what to do with. Now, this person we saw was maybe a little too loose. The player on our left, we've only seen them play reasonable hands so far, but they have a half stack. And then the other person seems loose and passive. So I'm going to flat this. I feel like this is a decent spot to do some flatting. I feel like this is a hand that can go both ways. You know, we certainly can have... All right, let's see. They bet... we've got about a 8-1 SPR. They bet 3/4 pot, which is like a little bit much. I do have a gut shot to the nuts. I have top pair, so I'm blocking some of their top set and top pair things. I can make 2 pair, and that can be pretty good. I don't have the spades, which is unfortunate. Now I have a double gut shot and a nut flush draw and top pair. So to me, this seems like a very clear call, and then I'm going to jam if I get there, which I did. I have top 2 pair as well, and they're probably just going to jam with a set of aces, and I'm going to call and give them a really bad beat. And there it is. So on the flop, they had 80% equity, and I had 20%, but that was, you know, the top of their range, the nuts. They could have had some more sort of backdoor stuff, but we'll click review on that hand, and I'll click pre-flop review as well. I think that was an interesting spot. I don't know. As always, anybody who has any comments or questions about any of the hands, please don't hesitate to mention them, in the chat. Or if you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. You can just include the timestamp, and always wherever you are, just put the cards I have like this, Ace Jack 6-5, AJ 6-5, right? And then I'll know what you're talking about and be able to either respond to your question or whatever you might be saying about how a particular hand might be played. I'm always open to, if someone's like, oh, well, the solver does this. Cool, thank you. I didn't know that. At some point, I'll look more stuff up in solvers myself. At the moment, I think I'm in the, let's get pre-flop, nailed down. All right, so we don't 3-bet 100% of ace-ace in the big blind. What ace-ace do we not 3-bet? Basically really bad rainbow ace-ace for the most part. Now we are multi-way, so it's a little different. I could make it 14. If I make it 14, then that player, I think, is going to call pretty often. We're not going to have a very high SPR. The player behind me is on the tight side. I don't know. I'm actually going to flat this combo and then look it up later. I think there was a pretty good argument to be made for 3-betting, maybe getting heads up with the person who raised first and then getting the other person to fold. I don't have the ace of spades, which is unfortunate. I do have one spade blocker, and now I have a wheel, and my 5 blocks the nut straight, which there's not really too much reason to be concerned anybody has. Yeah, I mean, they could flat with a 5-6, but so far they've been fairly tight. I don't think that's that common there. So I'm actually just going to half pot it. My aces are now totally irrelevant to my hand, right? I have an ace. It's less likely that someone else has aces. This board actually really is good for my range in terms of as the big blind. I think I'm going to have a fair amount of 6-5 and whatever. And I'm just going to fold this hand and check in with the chat. BuffyBot says, good morning. You didn't lose your voice yesterday. Smiley robot face. No, I did not lose my voice yesterday. I briefly misplaced it, perhaps. 6s with a 9 and a 4 double suited. I think, if the 9 was an 8, if the 4 were a 5, I just used 2 totally different tenses to express the same idea. This one I will mark and we'll talk about later. Yeah, I had a little strain on my voice yesterday from, what did I do? I did an hour Zoom call, then I did an hour stream, then I did a 1-hour podcasting stream, then I did a 2-hour bonus stream, right, where I was talking through 3 tables, which involves a lot of talking because there's 3 tables, and we had a lot of fun discussion as well in the chat. So my voice was strained, but then I drank this. There are these salty plum things that then you put in hot water, and I drank a cup of that, and I feel fine. So the wonders of traditional remedies. Cheers. Let me Google that. Salty plums. Right, I will share some more information. Yeah, it's like I think. Is this what? All right. Remedy. No, I can't find the. Oh, are they preserved? They might be preserved. I don't know. Yeah, beneficial to the stomach, lungs, or spleen. Sour plum drink. That's the one. Sour plum drink. Oh, no, that's like a... Alright, never mind. Anyway, it's I think it's like a traditional Chinese remedy where there's these salted plums that are in a thing, and then you put some in a cup of hot water, and then you mash it up and let it steep a little bit, and then drink it. And it helps. Helps with sore throat, helps with kind of losing the voice. I mean, I think my vocal quality is a little different today, a little more gravelly, a little more low end, a little less high end than it was at the beginning of yesterday. But also, I mean, I've been doing streams every single day for 41 days now, and that's not a lot of rest. I do think rest is generally good. I also think routine is good, so it's a little bit of a balance. I'm still contemplating exactly how many more days of this format I'm going to go with. I have an idea in my head. But then whether I turn this time slot into something else, or whether I just move to a different time slot and change my whole approach, I'm not sure. Yesterday afternoon was pretty encouraging in terms of like whether people want to watch 3 tabling of Pot Limit Omaha in the afternoon. The answer was like, yeah, there were a decent number of people who wanted to do that. So, of course, like pretty much any time I think you can grow an audience, right? It's like you just have to find the people who want to watch what you want to broadcast at a particular hour. So that's marketing and networking and whatever it is, right? That's all that stuff, which has never been super interesting to me, but is like super important to most of the things I want to do. I believe this was the pre-flop razor, and then I went cold call, and then call in the big blind. I'm curious to see what the big blind shows up with this hand, if that was indeed the action. Whether they do have these kind of, more refined ranges. I think they're just going to bet it and get it here, though. So we don't really get much information there. So far, they've been passive. They've been tight and passive. All right. Ace, Queen, 8-7. I think is a much better raising hand than calling hand. The ace functions well as a blocker. It makes it less likely that other people are going to come into the pot after we do. But I don't think it adds that much utility. I mean, it adds some for sure. But like in a multi-way pot being suited to the queen, I just don't think this is the hand that we're going to be really looking for. So I'm going to mark that for pre-flop, but less with the question, do I play this exact hand in this scenario? And more, I want to compare this scenario to, would I raise this hand first in from their position? And hands like this, how do they perform differently versus a raise compared to in a squeeze spot, right? So we'll do a little bit of contrast, compare, and let's get I'm not going to open up the matrix yet, but we'll get the home page open so that we can pop open the matrix itself pretty quickly when it's time for the session review. Okay, we got the raise, we got the cold call, we got a fold on our end, we got a sip of a smoothie. So now this player, who has not raised once in their first 15 hands, is like, oh, raise and a call, I'm going to 3-bet. Does that mean they definitely like always have ace-ace? No. But I think they're going to have a lot of ace-ace here. And then they're going to have maybe some like double suited rundowns and some like, ace, big something, double suited, stuff like that, probably. When they make this bet sizing, it feels like they do have ace-ace a lot. And they're just like, let's just go. It feels like, if they had queen, I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to kind of piece it off. By which I mean, go for 3 streets, basically in a 3-bet pot, right? Or not necessarily just 3-bet pot, in a pot with an SPR of 4-1 or lower. You have 2 ways of structuring your betting, right? You can go pot with a 4 SPR or lower SPR. You can make smaller bet sizes and get all in on the turn, so you make it a 2-street game. Or you can go like half pot or less on the flop, and then you can make it a 3-street game. I think with the 8 and the 3, this is a fold. King 10 suited is a nice start to a hand, and then the 8 plays well with it. But you got to make the 3 like a 7 or a 9 or something. Something like not useless. So with those, I think that's one of the big things that I've been learning and trying to improve at. Ace, King, Jack, 9 double suited. This looks like it's a good 3-betting hand. It's definitely a good raising hand. I see myself seeing a flop with this hand, unless Unless some weird stuff happens. Now, I do have 2 loose passive players in the blinds, and those are maybe the players I most want to play with. So, flatting gets more attractive here. Additionally, this is a fairly tight player who is opening the low jack. So I'm going to give them a little bit of respect while giving these other players a little bit of disrespect. Otherwise, if this was like a more aggro player, I would have just gone ahead and 3-bet them. I will mark this one as well for pre-flop review. Now let's see how much they want to bet here. My range is going to have a lot of king-king, right? And they're like, I don't care. I don't care what's in your range. So with the full-size pot-size bet and 2 players left to act, I'm just going to fold my top pair, top kicker, backdoor nut flush draw, backdoor Broadway draw. I think, and I had a backdoor jack high straight draw as well if an 8 and a 10 came off. So I think that's an interesting one, and I'm actually going to mark that for the thing where I look the next day and see, like, what did they have? I looked one up yesterday, if anybody recalls. 2 days ago, I folded for $5 on the river in a $200 pot, which can give someone nightmares, right? It's because it's just like, oh, really, if I was folding the best hand, I didn't see what I could possibly beat. I had ace high. I had, on the flop, I was not doing that well. On the turn, I had basically exactly the right odds to call. I mean, I guess I could have just folded, but my opponent did, in fact, flop top set and just go like pot, and then jam for $5. So they get to raise to $4.50 because there's an extra dollar posted in the pot. So that really changes the structure of the game. I think in scenarios like that, we would likely defend tighter, in the big blind. And in the small blind, we might play a somewhat similar range. I mean, we have to think, what should they really be doing? Should they be playing a little tighter? I think so, because they're going to use a larger raise size. Larger raise size implies tighter raising range, right? The bigger you make it relative to the blinds, generally, the fewer hands you can do that with. Add on to that there's 3 opponents in the blinds. So that's going to be another person who has position on you and is in a blind, and thus is going to be slightly more apt to call. I think theoretically they should have a slightly tighter range. Ergo, ipso facto, Colombo Oreo, i.e. e.g. Dennis Farina, you really should have stronger hands when you then contest their open raise. All right, 10-8 tray. What is going on in this hand? There must have been some flop action, right? Was it 3-bet pre, or was it a check raise on the flop? I missed it. 10-10-8 tray. Interesting. So this card, how much does this change, right? If you flop 8-8 and this comes out like in Hold'em, it's a nightmare because now any 10 beats you. But this isn't Hold'em. So they have ace 10 and they had a what? They had a big wrap. Okay. I am going to hit the replayer on that hand because I think that was a fascinating hand. Let's see how the replayer looks. Fairly bad, but fine. So we get that raise. Fold, call. And then it's going to... Wait, oh. They 3-bet pre? No. Okay. How does the money go in on the flop? I feel like this replayer is buggy. Alright, that doesn't make any sense. We're coming back here. Alright, we'll try it one more time. I don't understand what happened. So it goes raise. There was a poster, right? Call. So there's going to be about 10 in the middle. Cool. The flop comes out. Bet. Oh, bet call. Okay, yeah. They don't show the call. That's weird. It just says call. And then on the turn, they bet again, but they bet small and then call. And it, what would they be playing this way? See, the funny thing is that all the draws whiff. So this is just hard to bluff with. And all the draws whiff, and they're blocking a lot of draws. Yeah, they can get ace high draw to fold. So I get it. And the other person was just Yeah, I've got ace 10. I'm just going to call. I'm going to call. I'm going to call. All right, I've got 3 10s. Not quite the way we want to make 3 10s in Pot Limit Omaha. So we're going to fold. Yep. So I'm going to have some of my smoothie because I didn't finish my breakfast. This is my breakfast. This is a good 3-betting hand. I've got kings. I've got a suited ace to go with it. And then I've got another Broadway card. Like, this is a good hand to... It might even be like 3-bet, 4-bet if I were to get 3-bet. Right? That's an assertion that I would be curious to challenge. I think we're going to have some interesting post-flop scenario. If this player raises, I might just go ahead and jam, because we've got this dead money. There will basically be 14 in the middle, and then we can get another, but that's not what happened. And then the flop is like pretty bad for us. I have nothing, right? I mean, I have a pair of kings. I have a club blocker. I'm not blocking any of the straight or any of the pair set, whatever business. I'm going to check. I have 4 opponents also, right? And 2 of them are in the blinds. So it's very easy for them to have stuff in this region. Now, the 8 of hearts, I don't want to say it's the worst possible turn card, because it's not, but it's pretty bad, right? Basically, now I'm like, okay, how about nobody has a straight and I get the king of diamonds on the river? That's pretty much how I'm envisioning winning this pot. Alternately, a 3 of diamonds on the river and nobody has a straight or a 3. This is how we're gonna win this hand. Or we're just gonna fold to a pot-sized bet on the turn. So yeah, that was, I said I thought we would get some interesting post-flop spots. I wouldn't quite qualify this as a very interesting post-flop spot. Now this person wants to go ahead and raise. They're basically saying they have 6-9, which is credible. Yeah, they have double suited. The other person had nut flush draw and top and bottom pair. So they had 36% equity on the turn. Ace 10, 3 deuce with 2 suits the good way. I'm going to fold. I think that's probably a little loose to be raising the hijack were I to do that, but you know, what time is it? We're at about 33. How many hands do I have marked? Let's check it. If it's like 7 or more, okay, it's 7 hands, then I would say perhaps let us play one more orbit. I ended up finishing like pretty quickly yesterday. I think my my hand reviews are going faster than they were in the past. So, you know, that's all right. I'm gonna fold here. You know, the hand reviews, like the pre-flop especially, what's happening with the pre-flop? I'm navigating the matrix a lot faster, right? So that's helpful. That definitely makes it a little easier. And then the second thing is that I think I'm taking the notes quicker, and kind of the knowledge is less like, it's less like, oh, here's a whole bunch of new stuff. It's more like, okay, we're refining smaller and smaller things. So, yeah, I think that makes it go a little faster. And I'm always open to hearing like what people think about different aspects of the format. I'm going to continue doing this format for a certain number of additional days, and then I believe I will pivot into something that might be a little similar, might be a little different. We shall see. And, you know, I mean, I think after 40 plus days of doing the same time slot, on the one hand, you know, I think there's people who are like, oh yeah, this is the time that, you know, they do that thing. But on the other hand, I think maybe mixing it up, like I was really pleased with the results from the bonus stream yesterday. It felt like, I don't know, it probably fits into different people's schedules well. Here, I flop, bottom 2 pair, flush draw, and a gut shot. I'm just going to pot it. It's a limped pot, and now I have a boat, and how much do I want to bet? I'm going to half pot it. Basically, I have a small boat, and I want my opponent to draw to whatever they can possibly get to. I don't think they have that much, so I am again... Is half potting too? I'm gonna half pot it and hope that somehow they have like a straight or something, or if they have a 6 or a 3, they might pay me off, or perhaps some sort of overpair. I'm going to check it out and report back. What did they have? I have garbage here. Okay, they had king 6 deuce 5, so they had a flush draw. Did they have a gut shot? They did. A 4 would have made them a straight, not a good straight, but a straight nonetheless. And they had the 6, so they had trips. And could I have bet more? Well, I could have bet more, like per the rules, but I think my bet sizing made some sense, right? Like I kind of let them get there. They didn't have a lot of outs. On the turn, I guess they could have hit a king for a scoop or a 5 for a chop. So they were drawing pretty thin. And then they paid off the river bet as well. I mean, their hand looks good to them on the turn, right? They have trips, a gut shot, and a flush draw. But, like, it's not that good against what I had. I wonder what our equity is on the flop, though. That's probably interesting. Too late. Not that interesting. It's not that interesting. It's just a little interesting. All right. There's $2.79 left. Like what? There's like $25 in the pot, and there's like less than $3 in the stacks, and this person's timing out. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. The other person had a 12 out straight draw, it looks like. I will fold this hand. Yeah, they had top 2 pair and a 1 to 10 SPR. That's horrible. I mean, they're probably playing something else or whatever, doing something else. Like, so that probably wasn't them spending a whole lot of time thinking about what to do. But yeah, what do we got here? 38. We'll do one more orbit. They rebought, so that's good. Good news. We like to see it. That. And yeah, I didn't update the title. Didn't update the title. Okay. That's the danger of putting your title on the screen. Can't update that later. I mean, I just did, but it's a little goofy looking. It's wrong. But that's okay. That's okay. These are like practice streams. We're learning. We're here to learn collectively about poker, about streaming, about life. What's today? Saturday? I think a lot of people think that the weekends are probably some of the best streaming days, and maybe, but I think a lot of people like to watch streams on weekdays, and also maybe there's more people streaming on weekends, I think. And I don't know, I don't think I'll like stop streaming on weekends, but in terms of if I were to take days off, I think they're not necessarily the worst days to take off, because there's a lot of people streaming, and I think a lot of people maybe stream during, during work. Like have something on while they're working or something, I mean, there's certain streams where like you might give 100% focus, and then there's other streams where it's like, yeah, I'm just gonna hang out in this stream for a little while. All right, so I raised because I have a good hand, and they likely don't. I have an overpair. I have backdoor nut flush draw. That's about it. The 7, I think, hits their limping range pretty solidly. If they check it back, I'll feel decent about my hand unless a king or a queen comes off. They did check it back. And now an ace, actually, I don't feel helps me that much. There's hearts. I don't have any hearts. Now there's 3 7s on board, right? So the ace is irrelevant, and now I go back to playing my pair of jacks. I am going to bet 222. I'm basically trying to get a call from a small pocket pair or from somebody who thinks an ace plays here. And if I get raised and they checked a 7 on 2 streets, okay, nice hand, well played. I think that my jacks are very likely to be good. I think they're more likely to be good than my My ace-jack on the turn was pretty good because they didn't raise pre-flop, so ace-king, ace-queen are a little less likely. You know, this player, we've seen them raise, so it's not like they're super passive or anything. All right. So we're folding this hand because it is not any good. And we've got 7 hands queued up for review. I'm going to hit sit out next big blind, and then we shall do the thing with the stuff. Should have a pre-stream checklist. Let's do that. Let's pop this up and say pre-stream checklist. What were other things I was talking about? All right. Update title in stream info and the other thing and on display. There's something else that I wanted to do. Does anybody remember? I do not. Oh, there's that, of course. So much to do and just some time. All right, suddenly we have 2 players very excited in this pot. I think the button is just a slow player, right? They're just slow. They flop top and bottom, they turn top 2. Other player, it's a bunch of rainbow poo, and they make top 2 as well on the turn. I mean, they're, you know, actually their rainbow hand wasn't, I mean, the deuce really is just the one deuce. Aside from that, it was an okay hand. All right, Jack 9 8 4 double suited. Am I gonna raise this if it folds to me? You know, the 4 is like pretty trash, right? I mean, it's not much better than a 3 or a 2. It doesn't add any significant connectivity. Once somebody decides to enter the pot, I'm gonna fold. I think I was gonna raise it, but it feels questionable. It feels like this is probably not a raise. I think this is what we call the double suited trash, but it's like not super trash because the Jack 9 8, there's some stuff there. There's going to be some playability. If the blinds aren't 3-betting a lot, which so far they have not, at these stakes you don't get a lot of players 3-betting a lot. So given that, it's maybe okay. Maybe okay. All right, so now we have 8 hands to review. Oh, and this double suited 10s with a jack. The deuce is obviously not very helpful. All right, we do want to play with this player. We want to play with this player. They're kind of short, though. We're going to have a very low SPR. I don't think we're going to be able to leverage this hand for all that much benefit. If the deuce were a relevant card, as opposed to an irrelevant card, I would have cold called. And I think it's also important to note that when there's a call and then a raise, the hands that we're cold calling with, I think we need a little bit more, right? We need to understand that we need hands that are going to play well multi-way. Also, we run the risk of getting back raised, right? They can call and then they can re-raise when they get raised. We see that not a lot in these games, but certainly some. I think jacks with an ace I get to raise because the ace has good blocking properties, so I'm less likely to get 3-bet. Also, the big blind is a player I want to play pots with. Of course, if I were suited to the ace, that would be significantly better. And I don't think this is necessarily a hand that I'm going to call a 3-bet with. Now that the pot's going multi-way, and it's hilarious because I ended up, you know, the only player who didn't call, basically. I know this other player didn't call, but I flopped top pair, but nothing to go with it, really. And they go full pot, so we go away. We go away. All right, we'll get dealt in one more hand. And then we'll do that sweet session review. All right, that hand is Garbaggio. And I will proceed to review my session. Okay, 3 folds. There's not 3 folds. I wasn't really questioning this scenario. I was questioning if something different happens, then what do I do? So let's open up that pre-flop matrix. available from Upswing Poker. I actually now have an affiliate link. If you're on YouTube, it'll be down there, but also on Twitch. It's in the About section in the profile thing. So there's a thing you can click on there, and I find this just an extraordinarily useful tool. I think it's really useful even if you're very good and you just want to kind of refine, just look up scenarios, right? But as somebody who's somewhat newer to like really trying to play PLO well, then this is it's just indispensable, right? I mean, all right, Jack 9 8 4 double suited is fold on button. Jack 9 8 5 double suited is RFI, good suit or bad suit. Okay, so Jack 9 and then parentheses 8 7 6 5, right? Double suited is RFI. So what that means, that note to me means Jack 9 plus any two cards from the 8 7 6 5 range, right? So 8 7 8 6 8 5 7 6 7 5 6 5. Okay. So I've made a concise note and then elaborated on it beyond concision. Okay, this hand, I think this was interesting. I'm going to posit that this is a 3-bet in this scenario. I'm suited to the ace, I'm suited to the king. The 9 plays well with these cards because it makes it straight with the jack anyway. Actually, with the king and the ace, it doesn't really add value, but it does with the jack. We're going to say middle position versus under the gun. Yeah, so this is a 3-bet fold, but oddly, if it's suited to the ace and the jack or the ace and the 9, so not this way, this best way that it's suited, actually 3-bet folds. If it was suited worse, it would just be call, right? So ace king jack 9 double suited is 3-bet fold, good suit, and flat call, bad suit. So what does that tell us? It tells us that calling or 3-betting this hand are probably both fine, and whether we want to do one or the other, it probably doesn't make a big difference, and the solver's probably balancing how it's treating this combo based on its suitedness, but I doubt it's like 100% with this and 100% with that. So I like my cold call, and this is a good scenario, right? This hand plays pretty well multi-way. I have position in a 4-way pot. The only downside is I don't have relative position, and this player just goes ahead and pots it. They probably have ace-ace, ace-king. If they have ace-ace and they're potting it here, I think there's a really strong chance they also have hearts to go with it. They could have a hand like mine, maybe ace-king, jack-10 or something with hearts. And so I'm folding a chop, but they probably have a lot more equity. If you're potting it in this spot, like, you probably got nut hearts as the pre-flop raiser. They could have a hand like 8 7 6 5 maybe, and just be like, oh, I've got the wrap, and maybe they have hearts to go with it, which both adds equity and also blocks people from having heart draws, or blocks them from getting there if they do have heart draws. So there was that hand. And then this hand, I wanted to do more kind of like a study, right? This is less about how do I play this exact hand. First, I'm going to look up, is this hands class from middle position? Ace, queen, single suited. So ace, queen, 8 7, good suit or bad suit is raise fold from the hijack, which is the open raiser's position, right? So I'm looking at this saying, okay, if I were in their spot, I would raise a hand like this. Now we're going to go look at big blind defense against middle position. So we're going to say big blind versus middle position, which is the hijack. Ace, queen, single suited. What hands like this am I going to play? Ace, queen, 8 7, good suit, I am going to play, right? Ace, queen, 8 7, bad suit, I'm going to fold. So we go ace, queen, 8 7, good suit, bad suit is RFI from hijack. Good suit is call, big blind versus hijack. Bad suit is fold, big blind versus hijack. And now we're going to check out how... All right, so I've got like a picture of the matrix in my head. I can actually bring it over. Why don't I do that? I'll just put this on screen, right? So this is how I'm treating ace-queen single suited in the big blind when the middle position raises, right? Which is what just happened. Let's see how this looks right now. Is this, let's see. I need to minimize that and we'll look at this. Oh, that looks awful. What about like this? No. Okay, whatever. That doesn't look good at all. We're gonna bring it off screen. We're trying things. We're trying things. Let's do this. We'll just go like this. Okay. So this is how I would defend big blind versus hijack, right? So put this picture in your mind. Okay. I have an idea of it, right? Now we're going to go and say big blind squeeze. This is versus under the gun, so it's not quite ideal, but we'll click that and then we'll go back to the other one. Ace queen single suited, like nothing, right? So we're going to fold tons of hands like this. Ace queen 8-7, that's not even close, right? So let's go back one more time and look at big blind versus under the gun. Ace queen single suited. Clearly a lot more, right? So in this hands category, a lot of these get folded with these weaker cards, right? This is how we defend heads up against a low jack raise. And then this is how we defend against a low jack raise and a cold call. So it's very different. So I would say what we've learned here is ace queen 8-7 single suited is very clear fold big blind versus RFI and versus low jack RFI and button cold call. And I'm gonna actually look up one more. I'm gonna look big blind squeeze against a cutoff, right? So I'm not gonna bring the thing back on the screen. It just looks too ugly. It's just too ugly. Broke the layout. That's fine though. It destroyed the illusion. It's not a trick, Michael. It's an illusion. So ace queen single suited is like really weird big blind versus cutoff. And so we would play with the 8-7 single suited to the ace, right? So we'll say we'll add one more piece of information. Ace queen 8-7 single suited is call big blind versus cutoff RFI and whatever. We'll say button cold call. If good suit, fold. If bad suit. Okay, so suited to the ace. We could have called this if it were suited to the ace and this were a cutoff raiser. So that tells me in this situation, if they raised and they cold called and we were suited to the ace, calling in this spot wouldn't really be bad. If they were a low jack raiser, it would be bad. Here it would be like questionable, and in the cutoff it would be fine. But in this scenario without the suited ace, it's just pitch it. Whereas I think we said we can yeah, we're gonna fold it heads up anyway, but we could call with the suited ace. Okay. All right, so that's a little bit of clarity, not too much, but it just reinforces this type of hand. We're gonna play a little tighter when there's a raise and a cold call compared to just the raise. Okay, now this hand, I think this is just a fold, right? And I think my assumptions are going to be correct. I'm assuming correctly that I'm just wrong, right? Yep, I'm just wrong. Okay, so when you assume, you fold good hands is RFI from button. 6693 double suited is also RFI from button. Most 6-6 double suited is RFI from button. Only combos folded have a deuce or tray in them. Okay, so basically if we have a pair of sixes and then 2 cards 4 or higher that are suited to the sixes, we get to play it. So there's a little heuristic. We'll just refine that sense a bit. I think from the cutoff, that's going to be a fold. I'll just double check that. Like, I think a lot of times whenever we look something up or whenever we think about a hand, thinking about the things next to it help. First of all, we engage more with the first thing that we're doing, right? So I think we're more likely to remember it and be able to use it when it's relevant. But second of all, it adds some depth and some breadth to that knowledge. So yeah, 6694 is actually a fold in the cutoff. and a substantially larger number of 6-6 double suited is folded in the cutoff, but still a lot gets played. All right, so here I ended up flatting, and what was I saying? That this could be a good 3-bet hand, but I wanted to flat for whatever reasons. I think the big blind, I wanted to play pots with these people. Button versus MP. On the button, we're going to flat more than, say, if I were the cutoff, right? Because nobody can 3-bet us behind. Nobody can cold call behind. Here, I definitely get to play a pot in position. Unless it goes like 3-bet and then whatever nonsense. But Ace Jack 6-5 cold call. That's just it. It's just clear. Ace Jack 6-5 double suited is cold call on button versus hijack RFI. And yeah, we'll just leave it at that. There's a lot of cold calls. If you have a 5 with not a 6 or a 4 or a 3, like a 10-5, 9-5, 8-5, 7-5, those are all going to be 3-bets. I don't know why. I think the way those are interspersed in the chart makes me just feel like, yeah, 3-betting this hand probably wouldn't be bad either. The solver just would rather play it this way. Okay, here they bet 3/4 pot. They're going to have some ace-ace. They're going to have some flush draws. They're going to have some ace, whatever. I have to think about all of my outs. And I have a 7, right? That's only 3 7s to the nuts. I have a jack, which would help me beat most hands besides ace-ace or like 8-8 or whatever. One of those jacks is going to be a spade, which is annoying. One of my 4 7s to give me a straight would put a flush on board. I also have backdoor nut diamonds, right? And backdoors come in. So speaking of which, there's a diamond on the turn. Now this card is a great card, right? If it were just a random deuce, I would now have 8 outs to a straight. Only 6 of those would be to the nuts. And I would want to fold for this pot size bet. I would want to fold. Whether it's 100% correct or not, I don't know. But I would feel comfortable folding. But not only did this card give me a double gutter, it also gave me a nut flush draw, right? So all of a sudden, I've got 8 diamonds that don't pair the board because I have the ace and there's an ace on board. 8 of diamonds, maybe not good. We know, spoiler alert, not good. But those, so that's 8 diamonds. Plus I'm going to have 6 non-diamond straight cards, right? A 3 or a 7. Those are going to be nut straights. However, 2 of those 6 cards are spades. So let's count 4 of them. So we have 4 and 8. That's 12 outs to the nuts. Getting facing a pot size bet, 12 outs to the nuts is like almost enough equity to call for direct odds. But let's think a step further. They bet 20, I call 20, there's 60 in the middle, there's 40 back. If they have a strong hand where I'm going to really need to get there for sure with those cards, they're often going to pay off a 7. Is a 7 scary? Only a little. Is a 3 scary? Not very, right? I mean, I guess then any 5 and one of those other cards makes a straight, they could even make a wheel, right? If they have like ace 5 or something. But so a 3 and a 7 aren't going to be super scary. And my flush draw is the backdoor flush draw. So I think people tend to think the backdoor flush draw is a little less likely. Usually the backdoor flush draw is a little less likely. So long story short, too late. If I get there, I'm very likely to get paid. So my direct odds are probably slightly lower than they need to be, assuming that they like always have aces and spades, which they don't. So my direct odds are close, but my implied odds just make this a very easy, pleasant call. And they just jam into me. Trying to avoid the reverse free roll, right? Like if I had a set of 8s and they check, I probably check it back. Whereas if they jam here, maybe I call with a set of 8s. On the other hand, like maybe I would have bluffed with a hand like 5, 6, 7 with spades. So, I think their play seems fine. They do have a queen of diamonds, which is a nice blocker to have. It doesn't, you'd rather have the ace of diamonds, but I have that and I win the pot. Yay. All right. Let's see. Let's go back to this. Okay. We'll maximize that again. King 9 tray. This is just a fold. I want to just double check, kind of like, okay, what are these single suited 3s doing? Various ones. Yeah, so this is actually close, right? So I was saying if the 9's a 10, this hand is substantially better. And you know what? It's better enough that we actually raise call. So a pair of trays with a puppy, a canine. Single suited is fold on button. 3-3 king 10 single suited is RFI call. So basically, almost any ace, like any suited ace to go with the threes, we raise. I think a general heuristic is if we have any pair with a suited ace, we're always going to raise the button, right? And almost any two Broadway cards. For some reason, it doesn't want to do it with Queen 10. Queen 10, it wants to fold. I guess those are the worst two Broadway cards. I don't know. But, I mean, Queen 10 can make 3 nut straights, right? Queen high, king high, ace high. So I don't know. I think if you wanted to raise Queen 10, 3-3 with a, suited queen, that would be probably similar to this, right? Here we've got the second nut flush draw. There you've got the third nut flush draw. But there you've got 3 nut straights, and here you have 0 nut straights. One does not simply make a nut straight with king 9. Okay. I guess we have 1 nut straight, but it would be a nut straight flush. So I fold. 10 jack queen of clubs would give us the nut, and it would be a straight. But the flushiness would be what made it the nuts. Okay, this hand I'm not sure about. Let's double check it. Ace 10, 9, 5. Yeah, this is a raise fold, right? If it were suited to the ace, it's a raise call. So we'll look at the rest of the hand as well, I guess. But ace 10, 9, 5 single suited is RFI fold, bad suit, and RFI call, good suit. Most ace 10 single suited is RFI. Bad suit, mostly raise fold. Good suit, mostly raise call. All right, we're gonna condense our notation. Only fold with a deuce. Okay, we'll only fold 3 deuce good suit and like 6 deuce to 3 deuce bad suit. And then 4-3, but like whatever, that's fine. We don't have to worry about that. That's like a detail. So, bottom 2 pair. We're going to check bottom 2 pair pretty often. If we just think about what are the good cards, right? Well, so first of all, we can easily be beaten at this point. But second of all, the good cards are like 2, 3, 4, 6. Obviously a 10 or a 5. An ace is okay, but it puts a straight on board. A 9 is okay, but it puts a straight on board. The king, not so good. King and a queen are both pretty bad cards. They check. We check it back again, right? My hand did not improve. I do have the ace of hearts, so like I could start like bluffing. And I've got an ace and a 9, so I could start bluffing because I'm blocking straights and I'll be blocking hearts if they come in. We're not that deep. I don't know that much about this player, and like I have showdown value. I have bottom 2 pair. Why am I turning this into a bluff? I'm not. I check. They check again, and now I have bottom 3 pair, which is like not better. Any queen with any board card, an 8 or an ace makes a straight. But like I think I win this a lot by checking. I check, and I win 100% of the times that this exact hand is played right now. And they have aces with a 7 deuce, which is like, okay, they flatted aces in the small blind, which one does not simply flat aces in the small blind. One just quotes Sean Bean poorly, repeatedly. Okay, so against a raise, I decided to fold this. Against this small raise, I don't know. Let's first just see small blind versus button, single suited king jack. It's not going to play any of these, right? Ooh, king jack 10, not okay. Okay, so this is just straight up a 3-bet. I'm just wrong. All right, learn something. Cool. So king jack 10 9 single suited is 3-bet in small blind versus button RFI. All right, so this felt a little uncomfortable, but king jack 10 9 single suited. I just want a 3-bet here, and the fact that they're opening even smaller, I think that makes it more of a 3-bet. I'm going to do something weird here, and we're going to pretend that they have a 50 blind stack. Why would you pretend they have a 50 blind stack, you say? Well, because their raise size means that if I 3-bet, however they respond to it, call, 4-bet, whatever, this is going to play out more like as if the SPR is going to be like as if we had 50 blind stacks and Does that make sense? No. No, no, that's the opposite. That's the opposite. I'm going to make it bigger stacks, right? 250 blind stacks. We're going to be deeper on the flop if I play this hand than we should be if they use the regular raise size. So I want to see, how does this play big blind versus button, or no, small blind versus button, king jack single suited. It's the same. It's the same. We still raise fold. Oh, raise call, actually. Sorry. So, yeah, we'll just say 3-bet / call. So we can actually call a 4-bet with this hand, because I guess it just flops well, right? We're unblocking aces, but also we play well against aces, right? They're probably not going to 4-bet a lot of king, maybe some ace king, with like suits or whatever, but mostly they're going to flat their king, which are the hands that we're a little more concerned with. But like if they have ace and they 4-bet us, then we're going to have a lot of nice flops where we're actually going to pull ahead and I think going to have good playability. So that's my theory. That's the end of this hand, and that's the end of this stream. So as always, thanks so much for watching. If you're on YouTube, you can like and subscribe. If you're on Twitch, you can follow and subscribe. And I'll be back same time tomorrow. I will try to update my title before the stream, and we'll see how it goes. All right, have a great rest of the day. Cheers.